That cable may survive in a fire. It could also have been the cause of the fire in the first place. How can fire cables be dangerous when there is so much regulation involved in fire performance cables? So we're going to explain this. To do that, we need about 30 seconds to briefly explain the history of the standards and how they're developed. And then at the end, we'll show you how people cheat that and how there's potentially dangerous fire cables in the market. So to understand the tests, we need to go back through the history. So in 1970, IEC 331 was a simple fire test in dry conditions. And then in 1983, BS 6387 introduced 3 separate tests, a fire test in the dry, one with water, one with mechanical shock. 1993, BS 7629, this is how the cable's made, materials, characteristics, mechanicals and electrical properties. The year 2000, BSEN 5200, this was fire and mechanical shock only, and there was different duration times, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 120 minutes. And that's where the pH numbers come from. So pH 30, pH 60, pH 120 is the duration that it will last in the test. 2002, BS 5839, this was a code of practice, but it really set out standard and enhanced cables, and it introduced water into the 5200 test. So now we've got a test with fire, shock and water to replicate a burning building. And then in 2003, BS 8434 was for enhanced cables. So it's fire, shock and water, but 930 degrees Celsius. And what happened, the UK was heavily regulated and self-regulated in the cable industry. So all UK manufacturers got approved to all the relevant standards. And since we've had this change and things have become price-driven, people are always looking to cut costs. There's certain standards that people aren't now getting approved, so mainly some of the imported cables that come into the market. And the main one, unfortunately, is BS 7629. So in the specification, a specifier will list certain fire tests that it needs to pass, and they're the ones that they get approved. Lots of specifications don't include 7629, so people will not have that approved. And this is where people have to be careful, because BS 7629 is so important for the fire cables. This is the standard that tells you how to make the cable, what materials to use, whether you use copper or something else, the silicon insulation, how it's assembled, mechanical properties, electrical properties, how it's aged, its resistance to impact, its resistance to water immersion, loads and loads of things. And that is the costly one to get approved. But be aware, in the marketplace there are cables out there at the minute that are not manufactured to 7629, or if they are, some of them aren't third-party accredited. And it's a massive cost saving, but it also becomes a big risk. And the risk can become, you can get something to pass the fire tests. I could get 3 pieces of steel and put them in the fire test conditions and they would pass, so they would survive the fire test. But without the 7629 approval, that cable may survive in a fire. It could also have been the cause of the fire in the first place.